Okay, hopefully you were able to figure this out. This is a little bit more of a complicated function to use. It's not like count and sum and average where we're just giving a range of cells. This is an example of a function where the order of the arguments matters. And that's why using the formula builder box is often very helpful for things like this. So let me just kind of show you on the formulas tab where you can find this function. It's under financial. Again, it's PMT. Okay, and the hint that I gave was that we have to turn this into a monthly rate and we have to turn this into the number of months. So I'm going to take rate. So I'm going to click on that cell reference and I'm going to divide it by 12. That turns it into a monthly rate. The number of periods, I'm going to click on this, but I need to multiply that by 12. So it's actually 24 periods. Notice I'm getting previews as I type stuff in here. The present value is that amount right there. Oh, I put that in the wrong box. Let me click in present value. It's that amount right there, okay? Future value is an optional argument, and type is also an optional argument. Type is just sort of telling you if you pay the payment at the beginning of the period, at the beginning of the month, it's number 1, and if it's at the end of the month, it's the number 0, okay? For this one, we're just gonna leave those blank. So those are optional arguments, so we'll leave those blank. Again, it's giving me the result here. Let's click done. It's negative $210, okay? Now, that might seem a little confusing, like how much money am I paying, and it's saying I'm paying negative $210. The thing to keep in mind with a lot of these financial functions, in particular the payment function, this is from the perspective of the person paying out their money. So basically, I am deducting $210 from my bank account every month. So that's why it's a negative amount. Now, let's say that you wanted this to display as a positive amount, to say I'm paying $210 and I don't want that negative number there. You could actually just put a negative number for present value. Oops, I'm gonna put a negative number there, okay? And click done. And then that just turns that into a positive number, okay? Just for the purposes of display, okay? So again, it's gonna default to give you a negative number because you're paying out that amount. If you wanted that to display as a positive number, you put a negative sign in front of the present value, okay? For 25 bytes, this is actually pretty simple. I'm just gonna grab the fill handle and I'm gonna pull it over, okay? When I double click, I can see that it's referring to all of the correct cells, okay? By the way, once I've used the formula builder, I can now see how this looks, okay? And so if I ever want to use the payment function again, if I can kind of figure out how this works, it gives me a sense of how I can just type this from scratch, okay? And actually, if you click in here, you can see it gives you on-screen help. So it's telling you for the payment function, the first argument is the rate, the second argument is the number of periods, okay? The third argument is the present value, okay? And then the fourth argument would be future value if I wanted to include that. And then the last argument is type if I want to include that, okay? And it gives me some options. Notice the final two arguments, it puts it in brackets. In the on-screen help for a function, when it puts it in brackets, it means that it's optional. So you don't have to include those. You can just include the required arguments. In this case, this only requires the first 3 arguments, okay? So again, the more you use these different functions, the more you're gonna wanna get familiar with how these work and get familiar with using the on-screen help to kind of help you create your formula so that you don't have to keep going to that formula builder dialog box, okay? So that's just a little bit of a hint there. Let's go over to the PNL tab. So let's come over here. And what I wanna do is I wanna create, so in, let's see, in B31, so down here, I wanna create an if statement such that if this number right here is greater than or equal to 25%, then we would say goal met. Otherwise, if it's not greater than or equal to 25%, I want it to say the words unmet, okay? So how do we do that? How do we do that? Well, to do an if statement in Excel, you would use an if function, okay? If you're using the formulas library, it's under logical, if, okay? And again, you could kind of use these boxes here. So what's my logical test? The logical test is what am I checking for? So what I'm checking to see is B30 greater than or equal to 25%, okay? That's what I'm checking. Is that greater than or equal to 25%? By the way, it's telling me it is true. It's giving me a preview of what the answer is. What's the value of true? Well, that's what do I want to display if it's a true statement? I want to display the words goal met, okay? Notice when I click out of there, it puts that in quotes because it's words. What if it's false? Then I would want to say goal unmet, okay? And again, if I click out of that box, it puts that in quotes because it's words. And by the way, it's giving me a preview for that particular cell. If I hit done, it's displaying goal met, okay? And again, once I kind of build that using the function builder, I can kind of see how does this work? The if statement, the if function, the first argument is what's my logical test? I'm checking to see is something equal to something, is something greater than, less than? You're kind of doing some logical test. The next argument is what do I want if true to display? The third argument is what do I want to display if it's false? Okay, that's how the if function works. Okay, so here's what I'd like to do. Let's go over to the guest data tab. Okay, let's come over to guest data. I want you to create an if statement right here that will display the letters VIP if the guest has stayed more than 5 days. Okay, so if it's more than 5 days, it should display VIP. If it's not more than 5 days, then I just want you to have the words not yet. Okay, so see if you can go ahead and do that. So pause the video right now, see if you can figure that out, come back. Okay, so let's go through this together. So equals if, okay, what's my logical test? Well, I'm checking, is this greater than the number 5? That's my logical test, comma. What do I want to display if it's true? Well, I want to display VIP, and I put that in quotes because it's letters, comma. What do I want to display if it's not true? If it's false, not yet. And again, I put that in quotes. And there I go. So for this person, it's not yet. They're not greater than 5. Let's copy this down. Now, here's a quick way. So we've been just sort of grabbing the fill handle and sort of dragging it down. Notice I can also double click. If I double click, that flash fills and fills the whole thing down. Okay, and so that's a really quick way to copy your formula down. And again, let's just kind of double check some of these. So 7, that's more than 5, it's VIP. 2, that's not more than 5, it's not yet. Okay, so this seems to be working. Okay, so here's what I want us to do now. I want us to count up the number of total days for anyone who is has a code of G in column B, and I want to sum up the number of total days for anyone with a code of S in column B. And then I want to count up the number of guests that have the letter G, and I want to count up the number of guests that have the letter S. Now the trick is there are two functions. There is a, actually these functions I believe are, let's just check here. Yeah, so there's sum if. So sum if allows you to add something up based on a logical condition. And so that's where you can find that one. And then count if is strangely under the statistical functions. Okay, so you can find count if under statistical functions. I'm showing you where things are in the functions library just so you can kind of get a little familiar with this. I'll be perfectly honest, like it took me a moment to figure out where count if was, because if I were going to search for this, I would probably be using the function builder. By the way, I didn't show this to you in the last part, but you can use the keyboard shortcut, but you can also just click this fx, okay, and it brings you over here, and then count if. I can do a search, and there I go. Okay, so I'm going to stop this part before you go to the final part of the videos. See if you can use sum if to calculate this based on column B, and then count if to calculate the total number of guests based on column B. See if you can figure that out, again, using the on-screen help.